All right, there it is. There's my W-2 from 2020. It's the most that I've ever made as a nurse, actually. Here's the number I'm sure you guys are most curious about. I made about $85,000 in the year 2020.
So I don't know about the rest of you, but $85,000 for me is a lot of money, especially here in Pueblo, Colorado, where the cost of living is relatively inexpensive. The most I've ever made before that was working at FedEx many years ago, hustling and bustling, delivering packages out in the cold weather for probably like $18, $19 an hour. I think I made like $38,000 to $40,000 a year when I was working for FedEx. So me making $85,000, I'm like, sweet mother of God, it's a lot of money. And that's probably averaging, I think I was averaging about 4 hours of OT every week, because we would work 312s one week, 412s the next, 312s, 412s. And I think there was occasional days when I would have worked like 412s back to back. So I want to show you guys something that I think is just absolutely crazy, because at the hospital I worked at, you didn't have to have a BSN, a Bachelor's of Science in Nursing, to work there. You could have worked with an ADN, an associate's degree of nursing. So I want to show you something that I think is just absurd. It's just amazing the amount of money you can make as a nurse relative to the amount of education you have. All right, so check this out. This is Pueblo Community College. It's one of the local community colleges here. This is their associate's degree of nursing program. Total credits is only 71.5. These are your prerequisites right here. You've got 12 credits for the first semester, then you've got another 12 credits for the second semester. Then boom, you're in your first year of nursing. And look at this. This is crazy. 1 semester, 2 semester. This one's optional, it looks like here. 3rd semester, 4 semesters. So the total semesters is 6 semesters. I don't know. Someone correct me out there if I'm wrong, but I can't imagine you go to school for 6 semesters and then you come out making $85,000 a year. That is crazy. And so if we were to attend Pueblo Community College and do nursing, I looked at their credits, we would roughly spend, probably after like books and extra fees and stuff like that, you're looking at somewhere in the low $20,000 for your total education. So imagine you pay, I don't know, like $23,000 in a year and a half. Would that be 6 semesters? Yeah. So you paid $20,000. Let's say you paid $23,000 over the course of about a year and a half. And then your first year as a nurse, you're making $85,000. Like, that's really good bang for your buck.
All right, so here's what I think is crazy. If I were to ask you guys who makes more in a 20-year time span, a nurse or a physician, and this includes the time that it takes them to earn their degree, what would you say, the physician or the nurse? Well, let's take a look at some interesting numbers here. So the time to get your ADN for a nurse, which we already covered, is about a year and a half. For a physician, it's about 11 years. You got 4 years for your undergrad, plus 4 years of medical school, plus 3 years of residency. And really, even this number could be a little larger. When I Googled it, residency for a physician was anywhere from 3 to 7 years. So I guess we're being generous on this time frame is what I'm saying. For the salary for an ADN nurse, this might be a little high, but I showed you guys I made $85,000 a year, so it's definitely possible. But let's just go with $80,000 a year for an ADN nurse. For a physician, it's going to be $200,000 a year. Again, this number could be a little different. The median salary for a physician in 2021 was, I think, $208,000, so this is pretty close. Then we move down to debt. This does not factor in cost of living, so obviously these numbers are going to be much higher than they would if you factored that in. But just for tuition, we're looking around $23,000 in about a year and a half. For the physician, we're looking at about $240,000. This is $20,000 for undergrad plus $220,000 for medical school. And for people out there that are doctors watching this, you're like, oh my God, I paid so much more. So I am being generous on these numbers over here for schooling and for medical schooling for a physician, but let's just go with $240,000. So then if we take a look at after 20 years has elapsed, here are our numbers. For the nurse, they've made $1,480,000. That's for 18 and a half years of work. That's the 20 years minus 1.5 years that it took them to get their nursing license. And this is for $80,000 a year. Then we're going to subtract their debt of $23,000 and we get $1,457,000 in 20 years. Not too shabby considering it only took 1.5 years to get this education. If we go over to the physician and we look, Where are we at here? All right, so I have them making in a 20-year time frame. They're making, this includes the time that it took them to get their license. They made $1,965,000. So this includes $165,000. That's for 3 years of residency at making $55,000 a year. So when a physician gets out of medical school, they'll do maybe 3 years of residency, and as they're working for their residency, they're only making $55,000 a year, believe it or not. So that adds up to $165,000. Then you have $1.8 million, which is for 9 years that they're a physician, making around $200,000 a year. You add those numbers together, you get $1,965,000. Then we subtract their debt of $240,000 for medical school and for undergrad, and we get a total for the physician is $1,725,000. That's out of 20 years. So the physician does beat the nurse in a 20-year time frame. They make $268,000 more in 20 years. Of course, if you divide this by the 20 years total, that only equates to $13,400 more per year that a physician makes than a nurse.
All right, so that's what I find surprising, though. I don't feel like, given the level of responsibility that a physician has compared to a nurse, that $13,000 a year extra is really worth it. Plus, there's so much more risk that's involved when you become a physician or a doctor or any kind of specialist than there is a nurse. I mean, a nurse commits, what, 1.5 years, and we're making that pretty good money, whereas a physician commits a lot more time. I mean, what if you get halfway through medical school and you can't pass? You've got all that debt. There's just so much more risk involved. So after punching these numbers, I just feel like physicians are grossly underpaid relative to what nurses make. And I'm sure over the long haul, like if we extended this out another 10 years, then it'd be like, okay, this physician's making a lot more bank than the nurse. But nevertheless, I still feel like relative to the amount of time that we spend studying, nurses make a lot of money. All right, I hope you found this video helpful, and thanks for watching. Bye.